cannot resist a man who raises a cowboy hat in order to ask his question. Let's go first.
We know where that is going.
Yeah.
Thank you. Howard Wooldridge, co-founder of LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. I'm concerned with this panel and the one before I saw in October, the lack of discussion on public safety. From my perspective, 18 years of street cop, marijuana prohibition reduces greatly public safety. A couple of years ago, there was a Senate hearing. 200,000 children live in the home of a sexually abusive parent or guardian because my profession is only arresting 2% of the people who have child cyber porn in their home. As a police officer, I know we spend about 10 million hours to arrest about 800,000 people for marijuana. What is never captured in the statistics is when we're searching for in a car and there's no marijuana found, it's not captured with statistics nationally. So we're spending millions and millions of hours chasing this green plant. We're flying around in helicopters as opposed to catching the pedophiles in a chat room, for example. And during my 18 years, I went to zero calls for service generated by the use of marijuana. Alcohol use generated about 1,300, including homicide, suicide, rape, child abuse, etc. One of the things I would like the panel to discuss is, are you talking to street-level cops, especially those who have no skin in the game, retired? They're not trying to protect a HIDA grant, a burn grant, good overtime, etc., to determine how much police resources are put into chasing the green plant.
Very good. Why don't we take a couple, since we've got a mic in the vicinity. There was a gentleman in the row behind.
Don't allow.
Who wants to talk about resource diversion? Any comments there? Should we take that as a...
You know, I would just say in terms of cops on the street, I appreciate the point of view. In Colorado, I think our debate is relevant to what you're saying. Number one, the main issue that we have is to determine when someone is driving while under the influence of drugs, or DUID, what is that standard going to be, and how are we going to test people in a way that complies with their civil rights, but of course has that overriding effect of addressing public safety. We had a lot of testimony. We had a lot of speaking out pro and con from law enforcement throughout that campaign in Colorado about public safety implications and whether moving toward legalization was better or worse than the status quo. You know, I appreciate your point. I would tell you, as someone who's worked a lot of my own career in law enforcement and prosecution, there's disagreement. I mean, I've heard passionate disagreement on this issue from a lot of people I respect. Well, one thing we have to do now is come up with a standard that will protect people who come and visit our state and drive on the roads, so that people know that there is going to be a safe system for them. And we're not sure yet how to do that. Our legislature has that as job one now in the new session that starts this next week in Colorado. And I think your point of view, your input would be really valuable in our state.
You were against legalization in Colorado, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone knows. I was opposed to it. I also publicly predicted it wouldn't pass, so my credibility is nil.
Well, I have to say I supported it and I predicted it would pass. Following on the law enforcement comment again, I think, you know, as a researcher, I hate to say this, but this is why we want experiments. From these experiments, we can figure out if that resource allocation makes a difference. And I speak to cops all the time, and they are completely divided on that issue. Some believe the sky will fall, and others believe this is the beginning of a new era where we can smartly allocate our resources and we'll see a reduction in crime. I don't know how that's going to shake loose, because I'm not an advocate, and I'd like to see the data before I make up my mind. And give us a couple of years.
And it's not clear it shakes out the same way in every jurisdiction, right? Different places could handle this quite differently.
That's right.